Hitting your rank up could be the difference of one bad decision and elo hell takes over, or one glorious path to the promised land. This will be part 1 of a 3-part series going over every map in the game, including Pearl and Split being added next act. By the end of this video, you'll have a full understanding of how to play Abyss, Sunset, and Ascent, and how to dominate your ranked games like a Radiant. Let's get into it. Sunset 101, let's start with defense. There is one part similar to Ascent, and this is why I put these maps together. If you're losing these fights, do not keep going back and trying to win these fights. If you're dominating games, absolutely fight this stuff. But a 1-for-1 trade on defense is not good in these areas. And the reason being is because when somebody dies here, one of your teammates now needs to rotate. If one of your teammates need to rotate to fill the space, that means something else just opened up. And if something else just opened up, that means that a smart player is typically instantly going to go to a site because they know that generally they're trying to react to mid right now, and so capitalizing on hitting a site after that is really strong. B is generally pretty easy to defend. Everyone at this point is aware of the God Cypher setup, but even without the God Cypher setup, I'll be 100% honest with you, any smoke and damn near any piece of utility, even without this, is really easy to stall B main. And now you have a 3-way crossfire on all 3 of these angles. A is what's harder to defend. You have 3 zones that you want to be fighting for. 2 of them overlap, and I'll explain why. So this first one, the strength in this is you actually want to take advantage of this crossfire. You can also double elbow, and you can also double sight. But in order to play A correctly, this is in theory how you should be doing it. Defensive smokes, B main smoke, that's a valid smoke. This is also a good smoke to hold market. The smokes for A, very good one way. The normal smoke is really solid if you're playing inside of it or close on it, either one. Typically with a shotgun, but you can also do that with a rifle or other guns. This is probably your best smoke if you want to try and hold elbow control. Also very valid sight smoke. That's defense. Let's talk about offense. So offense, basically everything that I just told you, you reverse it to abuse that on offense. On defense, it's really bad to give up picks middle. So on offense, it's really good to try and get these picks middle. Generally, B is the harder place for you to go. I would not recommend going B straight up 5 through main. However, 5 hitting A is super good because most of the time these defenders are going to be split 1-1, and you just get the chance to fight these people 2-on-1 and 3-on-1. In the case that you want to go B, the way that you go B is you go 1 through main and you go 4 through mid, and this is super fucking strong. It is really hard to hold 4 people pushing you market. Holding 1 or 2 pushing you market, not a big deal. Holding 4 people pushing you market is really hard. B smokes, you smoke here. There's a big reason for this. If you smoke here, you give them this corner to late peek you. A lot of problems happen there. Second smoke, horrible smoke. If I ever see this in my ranked games, I cry. You're gonna make Pest cry if you throw this on my team. This is in fact where damn near every single Cypher throws his cage on defense. Pro tip, if a Cypher is caging something on defense, usually your smoke should never be there because that means that the defense is able to leverage that in their favor. These are your smokes. Every single time, pretty much no matter what. Mid smoke, you want to smoke here. A smokes, a little bit more self-explanatory, I feel like, but here and here. I think that's actually it. Ascent 101, let's start on defense. The way that you want to play mid, generally, you kind of avoid it. Unless you have an op, you're usually giving the attackers all of this space. This is usually space you just give up, and you try to fight from positions like this, like this, like this, like this. That's a really good angle too, a good cross angle there. Let me put you guys onto this actually. On this box is a great off angle. Like we've talked about, elevated angles are essentially forced off angles. The top of Radiant boxes is the top of your head, meaning perfect head level crosshair placement is like right here. So when you're sitting on this box, all you need to do is just follow generally this line right here. Now let's talk about a huge one way here. If you have 2 people fighting off this, they should pretty much never be able to get through this. Otherwise, this is generally going to be your smoke. You do have something that's really strong, and that's what I call double corners. If somebody is sitting in this corner and I go to check this corner, I die. If somebody is in that corner and I go to check this corner, I die. And then you have another corner to clear that's completely separate and also plays counter flash to almost any flash that you're going to be throwing. The way that you guys are going to play this site generally, if you're not playing in these close quarters, you basically have these two places to play, but hell is really good too. You can get a lot of really crazy clips by just like kind of holding a weird off angle in hell right here and then just like kind of going fucking crazy. Another valid option is coming out of either heaven smoke or tree smoke off of your teammate. So that's kind of A. Let's talk about tree. So usually tree, you kind of just want to get info. This is a decent angle to hold, but you should be very, very confident. When you are on defense, the place that people are going to be walking up the most is cat. 95% of the time, I swear to God, when you are doing a good job of not letting them out A main and B main, you are going to have at least 1 or 2 people walking up cat every single round. So if you're not confident in taking gunfights, you should not be fighting here if you're playing tree. You should just be getting info. So B has another set of double corners, and these are really good to abuse. You can also look for a peak timing on stairs. A lot of times you can kind of get a peak timing, catch people off guard. The strength of this site is layering. The way that you layer A is by throwing the one way, fighting it, right? And then you back up. On B, you can get a first layer here. Another kind of low risk fight where you just kind of pre-fire a couple bullets, run away. The next layer would be here. You can try and find a peak timing and get out. And then your last layer is going to be back here. You can kind of continue to retreat, give yourself opportunities. And now you still have a great place to finesse because you can sit here and hold this and you know that you have audio on anybody that drops on you. You can also just sit and block off that angle and you can hold off angles to the drops. The other thing that you can do, getting peak timings off your teammate, similar to how we did it over on A. Let's talk about offense. Let's talk about correct attacker smokes because good lord do I see some crazy smokes. For A, tree, good smoke. Heaven, good smoke. In the case that you are splitting A, in the case that you want to fight middle, this is your cat smoke. This is your bottom mid smoke. Your B smokes are going to be here and here. And this would also be a B split smoke. Now let's talk about post plant positions. Let's say that you have 5 people alive. Let's go through like the 5 spots that I would want to sit in. Logs is super strong. Once again, it's another double corner. I personally like this corner. I think that it's a little bit more sneaky. This is an insane off angle. You literally see them as they're dropping and they see you once it's too late. I highly recommend playing back sight over dice every single time. This close corner is okay, but you want to make sure your teammates are playing off of you. Generally, something like back sight is way better than on dice. And the reason being is because I'm always exposed to these 2 angles, whereas these angles naturally do the work for you, right? If I'm holding this, I completely cut off all of these left angles. As I move left, notice how all of the right angles are being cut off. Hell is this kind of flex position where if I'm holding deep right, I'm cutting off all of the angles to my left. And as I start to move right, I'm cutting off my angles to my right as well. I like to be like right here, I'm holding heaven. I can see their head even if they're as deep as possible. And then after I'm done taking care of heaven players, I can immediately swing out and help teammates fighting tree. So let's talk about Abyss. Let's first start with defense. Generally, you want to give up middle. These maps feel really natural to fight mid on. Ascent, the same thing. Feels really natural to just peek out, fight mid. Same thing with Sunset. So unless you have an op or you have a solid plan. So like for example, my duo and I will do a play where I'll walk down bottom and he'll walk up top. We smoke up top so that he's a little bit safer. He'll jump across, hit the rope. So generally their attention is kind of up here. As soon as they hear that, their brain instantly goes, oh my God, someone's up top. And when people have that reaction, a lot of times they tend to overlook some of these other angles and get squirrel brain to this guy. With this smoke, him making noise, me walking up, able to kind of get one free kill a lot of times and then back up. And then my duo can kind of take next contact, right? So they're kind of looking for me at this point because they were looking for Jet. Then I got a kill. And now my duo is going to be fighting. And as soon as he takes contact and they're worried about him, I'll come back out to help him. And we kind of talked about this earlier on how to micro play off your teammates like this. This is harder to do at a lower rank, but at a high level, this is happening without even communication a lot of times. Anyway, aside from opping or having a good play, mid is just kind of a no-no zone. The weird thing about this map is that holding down sights feels pretty hard too. So on attack, it feels pretty easy to like run it down. The problem is post plant on attack is really rough. So it's not actually terrible terrible to play retake on this map, to be honest with you. Let's take another map like Haven, for example. We went over this last night. If you have a 5v5 retake on A, you are losing in this crossfire with 2 people peeking off, and jumping out of heaven kind of sucks, right? This guy can support. This is literally just losing. There's really not much that you can do to retake this in a 5v5. Whereas both of these sites, you do not have a lot of places to play. Both of these corners suck on B. You kind of just have to get either a really nice shot through here or a nice peak timing on them coming out over here, or same thing over here. But these are all of your places on site, and not one of these is considered a good place to play. So essentially, you have a fairly easy retake on both of these sites in the case that you retake well, just because most people are going to be playing up on site as 3, 4, 5 people. And if they're bunched up in these really shitty positions, it becomes really easy to util dump and just like retake for free. We can talk about smokes on defense. Generally, something like this. Mid smokes, like we talked about, I think this top mid smoke is super valuable. You can smoke bottom mid, but I think the same thing on offense. We'll go over this too. Smoking one and trying to force the fight on the other, I think is really, really strong. This one way is actually really good, but you need to play off of it well. I find that a lot of people just let people run past this one way for free, and you should be getting 1 or 2 kills almost 100% in the case that they're jumping through your one way. This would be your typical default smoke. Now let's go to attack. We talked about mid. If they're giving you picks here, you should take them. You should play for these. If people are walking down on you, if people are fighting this stuff, I mean, unless you guys are just getting completely destroyed, but you should try and take advantage of people fighting these things if they are fighting them. Otherwise, like we talked about, sites are fairly easy to take on this map. A is definitely harder than B. With a smoke and a molly or something like that, you are kind of screwed. B is pretty hard to just straight up stall. Most of the time, B players are just fighting to the death in one of the positions that I mentioned, or you basically have the site for free, and now you just have to worry about the post plant, which sucks. Let's start with B. Smokes on B. This smoke, make sure it covers all of this. This is, in my opinion, the most important smoke to have. This would be second. The other place that people smoke is here, and objectively, this really doesn't matter, because the reality is, if this is open like 70% of the time, 2 or 3 people are dying from here. And if 2 or 3 people die from here, this smoke, you're not even going to get to the point where that smoke is useful. Post plant on B, you kind of have 2 options. In a ranked environment, especially as a duelist, trying to come up and fight, that's what I'm doing. I'm always forcing these fights. Whether I'm up here, literally at an off angle, if I catch a timing, or whether I'm trying to get a timing in here, whether I'm trying to get a timing in here, whether I'm trying to get a timing in here, I'm always like fighting up. And that's just how I feel like you have to play on console to win rounds for your team. The 2 plant spots that you want to plant in are here and here. When you plant, you want to plant on the far left side. The far left. The reason that you would need to plant left, a lot of people plant here. This is really, really bad, because what this allows them to do is tap the spike and then get a deeper angle on you. So in order for you to check the spike, you need to either swing this angle and then swing the spike, or what most people are going to do is they're just going to swing straight to the spike, and then this guy's going to get an angle that they don't expect on them. So if you plant it over here on this ledge, they have to tap and then sit there. And all you have to do is just sit here and jiggle, 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 jiggle until you win the round. Smokes, in my opinion, are going to be here and here. This is your textbook smoke, and in my opinion, this is your better smoke, because before you even get to back sight, there's a really high chance, if you don't have this smoked, that you're already dead from these late peaks. These late peaks are so brutal to deal with.